sky shining on me. Nothing but blue skies do I see.
How old were you during the time period of the Great Depression?
The Depression began in October 1929, and I was 9 years old.
How was the experience growing up in that time?
Okay, it was very, very difficult, our time. My father, when he came home that day when the crash happened, we lost our home, we lost the business, and our car. And from then on, we had to move every 3 months because we couldn't pay the rent. And my mom would pack everything in barrels, and we would move because they would give the free rent. Sometimes we lost our electricity. We had to live by candles. We were on charity. We had coupons that we had to use to buy our food. It was a very, very difficult time. It got a little worse the next year, and my dad tried to make some money. There were 3 children in the family, and he made little bags of peanuts and filled them and attached them to a cardboard for 5 cents a bag. And I would help him fill the little bags. Didn't do very well, and it was a very, very, very difficult time. But we did have a lot of love in our home, a lot of respect. And it was very difficult to watch my parents. My mother would go in the bedroom and cry at night, but I never saw her cry. She would cry at night. My dad tried everything to earn $1 to keep his family together, and warm and fed. And yet we had Friday night dinner, and my mother would invite anyone who didn't have soup that night. She would invite them to come and share the little bit. She'd add a little more water to the soup so that we could share. We all learned to share. And one experience I had was going to school. I had this, am I okay?
You're great, Hans. You're the best.
My friend had 5 cents every day to spend. And she would buy a bag of candy, about so big. I didn't have even a penny. And she used to be very kind and say to me, you can have whatever you would like. And I chose the dots. You know the dots on the long strip? Because there were so many, I could have them last all day. And after some time, she came to me one day and said, I'm sick and tired of giving you my pennies, my candy, bring your own money. And I went to my dad and I said, why can't I have a penny? He said, I don't have it. When I do, I'll give it to you. And sometimes I had to wait 2 weeks before I would get the penny. And I went to Dad and I said, why would anyone be so selfish when you have so much? And he said, it's a terrible thing to do. Don't ever be selfish, be generous. You give whatever you can, as much as you can, and whenever you can. And I think that's just been a wonderful lesson to me to learn to share.
Guys, isn't it amazing that being wealthy then was having 5 cents? 5 cents could buy you this much candy.
Now we can't buy anything.
You're right. But that is at the time how much times have changed. But that was a lot of money back then.
Well, for 1 penny, you would get 10 Mary Janes and 10 little something else that you wanted. So she had 50 pieces of candy in her bag. So you know it was like this. And that's what she did every week. I never forgot her name. When I was 10 years old.
What
Now I'm 90.
What's her name?
Eileen Barrow. Her father was a doctor.
So the doctors were still successful during the time of the Great Depression?
They didn't charge what doctors charge today. But if you charge $5 for a house call, that was a lot of money.
What business did your father work in before the Depression?
My father was in business with his dad, and it was called Paper Bag and Twine. They sold to wholesale people the paper bags that you would buy for the grocery stores and all the twine that came in big.
And where did you live? Where were some of the places that you lived during the Depression?
We lived in Philadelphia. That's where I was born. And we lived in the home. And Philadelphia, there are row houses, upstairs and downstairs. And one time I went back to visit where I lived, and I thought the home at that time was so huge. When I went back, it was like a little cigar box. But we moved so many places. We lived in Camden, New Jersey, and then moved to Chicago, and then moved back to Philadelphia. But each time we would make these moves, we only lived in that same house for maybe 3 months. If my father could pay the rent. And then we would move someplace else in the area. We always went to the same school, always in the same area, so as much as we could. Then when I came to Chicago, we were here for a year, and I had to move back to Philadelphia. And then when I was 14, 15, we moved to Maryland. That's where I went to high school. And that was a very tiny little town. That was fun. And we moved back to Philadelphia. There was a lot of moving. I didn't create a lot of friendships. It was very difficult.
What kind of clothes did you have to wear? Did you wear anything that was dirty?
No, never. Nothing was ever dirty. Nothing was pinned. My mother says you can't wear anything that's pinned. You have to always have it fixed. I'll sew it for you. I had a distant relative who lived in New York who sent me some of her clothes, and especially coats. My mother could sew, and she sewed beautifully by hand. She made a lot of my clothes. And in those years, we didn't have jeans or slacks. We just wore skirts. And they were down to my ankle. That's how the skirts were then. So, always mid-calf, and when I was about 16, they were down to my ankle. And blouses. But we always had clean clothes, always. And my shoes, my mom used to buy at Woolworths. And I don't know if you remember Woolworths, the 5 and 10. And their shoes cost 99 cents. Practically made of paper soles. But I was very easy on them, so they lasted a while.
What did you do for fun during that time?
Well, I had my older brother and my younger sister, and we had a piano. No matter where we went, the piano was always with us. And so in the evening, there was no television. We had radio, and we would play games or play the piano. My mom would play, and my dad would stand behind her and sing. Well, we would play cards. We always stayed together and played together as a family. There was no separation of going to the den or the family room. It was always just in the living room or in the kitchen. That's where we spent our time. On New Year's Eve, my mother used to paint the furniture, the kitchen furniture. That was her job every New Year's Eve.
Were flappers still around when you were growing up?
Yes, the flappers? Oh, yes, in 1920s. Absolutely. My father had a friend who was a prize fighter. Lightweight, featherweight, I guess. And my mother had a cousin who was in the theater. She was an actress or on the stage in New York. And so a lot of those people would come to our home. And I remember the pictures of them. Even my mother had the dresses with the fringe. And my mother even said that she smoked one time to be with them, with the feathers in their hats. She had some of those clothes. And I remember the high-top shoes. But it was...
with anyone that's still around from the Great Depression?
No one of my contemporaries are alive anymore.
None of her friends
can
are
share
still
this
around.
with me.
But how about your sister?
My sister is 85, 86. But she doesn't remember because she's 5 years younger. So she doesn't remember any of this. She only knows the stories that I tell her.
Nana, can you tell about what happened to Aunt Faye during the Great Depression when she was a young child?
Because she had the period. My sister was about 1 or 2, and she developed diphtheria, which really totaled her hearing and left her very, very bad. But she's a wonderful human being.
And didn't you have to have a quarantine?
We were quarantined, of course, and my brother and I. That means you can't go out if there's diphtheria in your house, and they put a sign on your door, quarantine. But my mother said to my brother and to me, you go outside on the grass in the front of the house and play. And the Department of Health came by, and they saw us outside, and they came over to my mom and said, "You're going to take the children away if you don't keep them in the house. We have to put them someplace because you can't have them exposed to anybody. They have to stay in the house, they're quarantined." But we had fun.
Remember life before the stock market crash?
Not very much, strangely enough, because it was probably so quiet and peaceful. And I don't remember very much. I've been going to school, playing with my sister and brother, and if we had neighbors. But it seems to be so embedded in my mind that day of the crash, of seeing my mom crying and all the commotion that was going on in our house, and I couldn't understand what was happening, and then all the packing and the moving that was so constant, and seeing and hearing my mom cry at night. The electricity was turned off. We were eating and living with candles. That was, I think, at 9 years of age, was a very impressionable age. And just don't forget what's going on in their homes.
So what is your feelings about FDR? He asked if you knew him, but...
He was wonderful as a president. He came and he put the WPA immediately to get people to go back to work to find jobs.
A host of unemployed citizens face the grim problem of existence, and the savings of many years in thousands of families are gone. Only a foolish optimist can deny the dark realities of the moment. This nation is asking for action, and action now. Our greatest primary task is to put people to work. Happiness lies not in the mere possession of money. It lies in the joy of achievement, in the thrill of creative effort, the joy, the moral stimulation of work. Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
What did you learn from the Great Depression that helped you for the rest of your life?
I learned it's most important to care and share. No matter how little you have, you always have enough to share with someone else.
So what happened with the school system? Did everything run smoothly? Or was there a change in the schools as well?
Everything went smoothly in school. No matter where we were, school was always there, available. I don't think I was the best student because I think my mind was at home wondering what's going to happen tonight if we'll have dinner. And so it was always on my mind. And someone told me yesterday that people from that Great Depression seem to be very conservative in their lives today when they're in their 80s and 90s, that they're so afraid of losing their money that they hang on to it and become misers practically. And I believe in spending it to enjoy it.
So a miser is someone like Scrooge, exactly, who doesn't want to share anything, who keeps it all to himself. But my grandmother feels that because she went through such a traumatic experience, that she believes that sharing is a very important thing, no matter how much you have. Did they keep money in the bank, or what was the reaction?
We had very little in the bank, and the banks closed. And when they closed, we lost all our money. My grandparents lost all their money, but they had some properties that they didn't lose, that they were able to save. But if you had money in the bank, it was gone. I had $25 that I had saved, pennies and nickels and dimes, and we were here in Chicago for the year when the banks closed, and my grandmother said, "Can't go get your money, it's gone." And that was a lot of money then. It was like a week's salary.
So what did you do with the money when your father would sell peanuts and make money? Did you keep it in a mattress?
Mostly to buy food and pay the rent. We did without the electricity for months at a time. We lived with the candles, but it was to buy food. And the government gave a little bit of, which was charity. We had coupons. If I wanted a quart of milk, I took this little coupon and I stood in line and waited because I was embarrassed. But I waited till everybody left the store, and I said, "Could I please have a quart of milk?" And instead of the money, the 3 cents or whatever it cost, I gave them the coupon. But I walked away very embarrassed. It was hard. The Morse code.
For the railroads.
He became a telegrapher. He worked for Western Union and Postal. I remember.
And the railroads?
And then the Northwestern Railroad.
Did anyone pass away because of the Depression that you know?
No. But I think it helped. My father died at a very young age. He was only 59. And I think it was very difficult for him because he never truly came back and bounced back financially. And I think it hurt him a great deal.
Was your family in debt during that time? Or did you kind of run around escaping the debt?
Well, I really don't know because I wasn't into that much about what the finances were going on. So I can't tell you. But I'm sure that everybody owed everybody at that point. But the stores, the grocery stores, they were very kind.
One try to stand up for what's right during that time.
I don't know.
Brianna,
I think everybody really was in the same predicament. It was just a one-day event that happened and it lasted for so many years.
Were you scared to spend money? Well, she said she likes to share, right?
And I wasn't afraid to spend money. When I married, I was only 20 years old. And I had 3 dresses to my name. And the young man I dated said to me, "You keep wearing the same dresses over and over again." And I said, "That's all I have." And we dated until we became engaged and got married. And he said to me, "Don't worry about not having dresses anymore. I want to give you dresses. I'll take care of you." And he did. So from then on, after I was 20, I didn't have to worry. I didn't have a lot, but I didn't have to worry. And that was nice. Would you like to hear a story?
Of course.
Okay. My brother, who was 2 years older than I, was just a little mischief maker. He was a good boy, but a mischief maker. And one night when Mom and Dad went out, my sister was sleeping and I was sleeping. It was very hot, a summer night. And my brother came in and woke me up and said, "Aren't you hot?" "Oh, I'm sleeping." He said, "Well, I'm so hot I can't sleep. So let's do something about it." And whatever he did, I followed him. I was almost glued to his hip. I loved him so much. So I got out of bed and went with him. We got big glasses of water. And what are we going to do? He said, "We're going to cool off our mattress." And we took the water and threw it on his mattress and on mine. And by the next morning, the mattresses were down like this. They were soaking wet. And my mother had to throw them out. And that was not a happy time. And,
dancing to the radio.
oh, well, there was no television, but there was radio that we loved. And he was a wonderful dancer, and I loved to dance with him. And when my parents would go to bed on a Saturday night, we were living in Maryland at that time, and not too many places to go. So we were home, and we would turn on the radio and listen to bands, Len Miller, Benny Goodman, and we would dance until 1 o'clock in the morning. And my brother was a wonderful dancer. So we had good times. That's how we spent our Saturdays. And Sundays, there were no movies, no stores were open, so it was family time. You just visited family or you stayed home. And we used to visit our relatives, cousins. We did that. One uncle, my father's brother, had a delicatessen. And we would go there when we could on Sunday and have all kinds of sausages and cheeses and hot dogs, and that was when we would fill up for the weekend. That was fun.
Did you feel like you were ever going to die from hunger?
No. Never even thought about it.
Did you ever have to skip dinner?
Oh, many times, I'm sure.
Were you for or against the Prohibition bill?
I was too young to even know about it. There was no drinking in our house, and I probably didn't even know what the word meant at the time.
How did your family survive?
Just from day to day, until things got better, when my dad would get a job. Then it became better. The children got a little older. My brother got a job. He could help. I worked when we lived in Maryland. When Social Security first came out, I got the first card in Maryland. And I was just 16. And I was selling hosiery for 99 cents a pair.
Like stockings?
Stockings.
You must remember this, a kiss is just a kiss, a sigh is just a sigh.
What kind of food did you guys mostly eat?
Hamburger and rice and bread.
Soup.
Mostly hamburger. That was the cheapest that you could find.
And soup. Was it hard to get by, and how did you get by?
It was very hard, but it was one day at a time, and we did the best that we could. We shared everything. If we had one apple, it was divided into 5 pieces. And nobody complained. We just all our neighbors and all our friends were practically in the same position, and nobody complained. I think everybody went through the same thing at the same time.
Work after your job at selling hosiery. Did you work as you got older?
Well, when I moved to Maryland, then I came home and I got married and I didn't work. Then I went to work when I was in my 40s. I just decided it was good to get out and earn some money and be a little independent.
When did the Great Depression end, would you say?
Oh my, let's see. It was still in the 30s. It might have been, it was tough times for a long time. I think even in the 30s, 32, 33, when Franklin Roosevelt came in, they were still having so many problems. So I don't know exactly when it ended because it's a long time. Say something first. The rich people that lost all their money, men were jumping by the 20s and 30s out of the tallest buildings to kill themselves because they lost every dollar. You would look out the window and you would see somebody drafted. There were hundreds of them in New York that day.
Carlos asked if clerks in the hotel would ask customers if they wanted a room for sleeping or for jumping.
I don't know whether it was the hotels. I think it was the businesses, the offices, and they would go up where they were on the 16th floor. They would go up to the top of their building and or jump out of their windows from wherever their office was, because they lost every dime. And these were These were the people that were making money, that had good money. The poor people didn't do that. They had to keep their families going. They had to survive. And the rich people couldn't handle it.
Great question. How is financial aid and government charity different now from then?
Well, I think it's much better today because you have Social Security, which is such a help to everybody. I think it's much better today. They were not prepared then, and now they've learned today from experience. But there were benefits, charity.
No insurance.
No one. They had no such thing. If you went to the hospital, you paid, no matter what. But it used to cost $3 to fill a tube and $2 to pull a tube. So I had my teeth pulled for $2 because my mom, in the back, I had a few teeth pulled. She couldn't afford the $3. So she would have them pulled.
So if you had a cavity, instead of getting a drill, you would just pull it out.
Well, sure, they didn't have to use anything to fill it, the silver to fill it and to drill, so they just pull it. And if you had to go to the doctor, it was $5 a visit.
Was the Great Depression the hardest time of your entire life?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I still think of it every day.
Can we explain what Social Security is a little bit? Do you know?
What is it?
Yes, people don't really know what it is.
Social Security is security money put aside that you will receive when you after working for so many years, and you put aside so much money. The government puts aside so much money. When you reach a certain age, you're entitled to receive that as part of your earnings.
So it's like when you pay taxes on everything that you pay, the government keeps, not a tax return, the government kind of keeps note of how much you've worked and how much you've earned and how much you've paid back to the government. So that when you retire, the government kind of helps you along with a lot of that money. They sort of match what you put in.
Employer matches.
The employer matches.
Like if I've been just a housewife and never worked, I would get the minimum Social Security when I would reach the age of 65.
Almost 66 now.
Or 60-something. That is like $875 a month.
That's now, right?
Now, right. Then, I don't know what it was.
Did you ever feel like you needed to steal something or any to help with him?
Not for 1 second would I ever want to steal a penny from anybody. If I found it, I'd like to give it back. But I would never, nobody would ever do it.
Did your family ever go to a soup kitchen? A soup kitchen?
No, they didn't have them.
Instead, you just waited in line for bread and for milk.
Well, I waited till everybody would leave before I would go to the grocer and say, here's my coupon, may I have a quart of milk? But I just wanted everybody to leave because I was embarrassed that we were on charity.
Why was it embarrassing if you were only 9 years old?
Because nobody else, none of the adults, I was the one to go to the store. And nobody adults were there. I didn't see other children. And they were just taking their money and paying for their groceries. And I was standing and I knew that that was from the government. Because my mom told me that you have to be careful, don't lose it, because if you lose that, we won't have the milk. So I knew that we didn't have the money, and I felt it. I just knew that it was was a sad situation.
So the coupons then are like food stamps now.
Exactly, that's what it was.
Did your parents' attitudes change towards each other? Was there more tension in the house?
No, I think my parents tried so hard to keep everything just as smooth as they could possibly keep it, by singing, by playing cards together, and to hide it from the children. And for some reason or other, my brother, who was 2 years older, he seemed to just ignore the whole thing. But I took it so seriously. I waited for my father to come home and tell me how much he sold and what he did, and where he was looking for a job. And my sister was too young to understand.
Did you ever cry because of the Great Depression?
Did I cry? I cried a lot. I cried a lot because I heard my mother crying in the bedroom. She never cried in front of me. And my dad would come in and keep saying, "I'm so sorry that I can't give you a penny. I'm so sorry that we don't have chicken for dinner tonight. We have to have a peanut butter sandwich." So that stayed with me always. I've always been grateful for every little thing. Oh, I think that everything has changed since the Great Depression, tremendously. People are so aware that's like the last little setback that this country had was so relevant to the Great Depression that they're very aware of what happened there and the repercussions that have happened since.
What was your first reaction when you first heard about the Great Depression?
About the Depression? I really didn't know what it was at the beginning when I was 9 years old.
Sure.
Until my dad sat us down and said, "We lost our home. We don't have a home anymore. And my business they closed the doors. I can't go back. And they're taking my car back. And we have to leave." All in one day. Couldn't pay the rent, we had to leave. And everybody was doing the same thing.
The first time you lost your house that day, where did you go?
Where did we go? Well, there were so many people moving with their other families because you couldn't afford it, so they doubled up. 2 families lived together, so there were homes available. And they would rent these homes and give you 3 months concession, meaning you could live there, pay 1 month's rent, and live there for 3 months free. So after those 3 months, then you had to move again and try and get another house that would give you 3 months free. So that's what we did. But people kept moving and doubling up with their families. So there was always little houses for rent.
How could you get from place to place if you didn't have a car?
Or the movers or the neighbors would take you in your car. In their car. There was always somebody to help out. And we didn't have very much. Somebody was always willing to help out.
Anything else you'd like to share before we go?
I just think it's wonderful that you invited me to come here today. I'm very honored and I'm proud to be here. And I thank you for your questions, even your interest. I hope it was satisfactory to you.
I heard